and welcome to Baby Got Books, the podcast where we like big books and we cannot lie. I am Jasmine.
I'm Eni.
I'm Crystal.
And today we are joined by a very special guest. Say hi, Ella.
Hi.
Baby Got Books.
I love the title of this podcast.
Yeah.
So good.
Thanks. We're quite proud of it.
Yeah, you should be.
So, introducing Ella. Ella McLeod is a badass author.
Oh my god, thank you.
Ex-podcast producer?
Ex-podcast producer,
Ex-podcast producer.
current podcast host.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. Writing coach.
Yes.
And she has released many a YA and children's book. You've got quite a few under your belt, which we will get into. But we're here today to talk about Andromeda, which marks her adult debut and is a sapphic Greek retelling focused on Andromeda, the beautiful daughter of King Cephas and Queen Cassiopeia.
Yeah.
There you go. You know, I feel like it's very much a reader thing. You read a word so much that you're like, I actually don't know how this is said.
I'm also just like, people will now see, like, I say everyone's name differently in different interviews.
Valid.
I'm just a bit like, ultimately, these are, like, this isn't my mother tongue.
Yeah.
I'm doing my best. Different people have different opinions on how you pronounce things.
It's true.
So I'm like, who's to say who's correct?
Yeah, you know what? I love that.
Yeah, your
Like
names
this-
in your story.
Yeah, and I just don't believe in being an asshole about people
Yeah.
mispronouncing things, like, when
Yeah.
people are trying, so.
Exactly.
You know.
I think I once saw, it was probably a tweet, but I once saw something that was like, not being able to pronounce big words is usually a sign that you like read a lot.
Totally, yeah, because you're not
Like,
hearing them said.
exactly.
For sure. And yeah, like, particularly with, like, ancient Greece and, like, Latin and stuff, like, yeah, I hear people pronounce things differently all the time, so I'm like, okay.
I think it's fair.
We can be generous.
Yeah. But yeah, so Ella, before we get into the book, we like to ask our guests a question about themselves, just so we can learn more about them as a person. So, what is your favourite season of the year and why?
So, okay.
Ooh.
Can I do a little explanation as to why I
Absolutely,
like
get into it.
So, I love the fact that where we live in London, in England, it's seasonal, right? Like, I like that we actually get distinct seasons.
Love that.
And I love different things about all of the seasons. I love, like, autumn fashion. I love, like, my birthday is March, so, like, that transitional... Pisces as well? Oh, so you're late March. Okay, nice. So I like that, like, liminal transitional period where stuff starts to wake up. I love, like, cozy winter days and Christmas, but I love summer. Like, I love summer. Like, and I kind of forget that I love summer, and then it gets to that part of January where it feels like it's been winter forever, and I get, like, emotional thinking about summer because I'm just like, all I want is to be, like, drunk in a park in, like, 30 degrees, playing music, doing nothing. That is me at peak joy, you know? So, yeah, I do. And I do believe that in the summer, I think London is honestly the best place.
It's
to
the
live.
best place.
It's the best place in the world.
It's fun. Everyone's a vibe.
Everyone is a vibe. Everyone's outside.
It's so good.
You have all the food.
Yeah.
There's always something going on.
The sun sets at 10 p.m.
It's the sun sets at 10 p.m. You
Everything
can
comes
do
alive.
everything comes alive, and you can do stuff cheap because it's outside. Like, it
It's
just.
like if you just sit in the park and drink
Yeah.
like £4 wine. Everyone's like,
And that is peak joy.
That's so true.
Honest, like, if I could describe, like, my perfect day, it's honestly like going to, like, M&S, getting all of the, like, picky bits.
Yeah.
A summer picky bit and a
absolutely.
tinny in the sun.
Yeah.
MS is just deluxe as well.
It is, yeah. And I never shop there other than summer
It's
when I'm
only
getting a
for
picky
picky
bit.
bits.
It's
It's
only
only
for
for
summer
summer.
picky bits.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely the summer.
No, you're so right for that.
Nice.
I'm exactly the same way. Summer is my favourite season by far.
Yeah.
And I do also kind of forget just how much until there is, like, a ray of sun on my skin.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I literally am a different
no
person.
better than a plant.
I feel myself reversing.
Absolutely.
The birds start singing.
Yeah.
I'm hearing quiet.
I do think, like, genuinely, I've, like, been deeping it over the past couple of years, and I'm like, I genuinely think long term, I build stronger relationships with people that meet me in the summer rather than meet me in the winter.
Oh
Because
yeah.
I'm just a better person on
Honestly.
like first impression.
I have the capacity to like socialize.
Yeah, like I'm more willing to be outside
Yeah,
and
totally.
to like meet people and do things.
That's
Oh,
the thing.
I love it. It's
You
the
meet
best.
someone in summer and it can be like, yeah, I'll hang out again next
Yeah.
week.
Yeah,
actually,
exactly.
Yeah,
And maybe they're like,
yeah.
wow, she's a ray of light.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe in the winter, they're like, she doesn't talk and she doesn't go anywhere.
So, yeah, no, next free. And I'm like,
Honestly.
so I think after the winter solstice, it's gonna get really tough. Like 2 months.
That's when you start
True.
scheduling like days like just chill at home.
Yeah, with people.
Yeah.
And you
that's
can't
like-
do that with
yeah.
people you've just met.
True, it's so true. I was in the winter. I was writing like a scene that takes place in the summer. I can't remember what it was for, and I voice noted like my girls group chat like almost on the verge of tears. Like that. It's like I'm just writing this chapter and it's really warm and the sun's playing across their faces and the smell of jasmine is in the air and I'm just so cold. I've been so cold, and they all came back like, oh, we know, we feel it. Like, yeah, so
Yeah.
really love the summer. Really
That's so
love it.
fair. No, I completely understand.
Extremely wrong.
Yeah.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got quite a few books under your belt.
I
now.
do.
You have your children's book, which came out in January.
Yes,
Goldilocs.
Goldilocs, yeah.
Yes. And then you've got The Map That Led to You,
Yes,
YA.
yes.
You've got Rapunzella, Don't Touch My Hair.
Yes.
YA.
Yes.
And now we've got Andromeda, which we're talking about. What was your journey into publishing like? How did you get here?
So, God, it kind of unhinged. Like, I really didn't know what I was doing at all. Which was, I look back now and I'm just like, this has been so fluky. But basically, it was 2020. I'd lost my job because of the pandemic. And I was like sort of sat at home like, what am I gonna do? Because I've been working in like TV production, all TV productions shut down.
Yeah.
I'd done like a degree in English literature and theatre, and I was like, what do I do with this useless degree? So I had always loved writing, I'd always written, and I kind of thought, maybe this is a good time to actually try and do something with the stuff I've written.
Yeah.
So I went back to the kind of thing I'd been writing for my dissertation while I was at uni, which was like the beginnings of Rapunzella, and like turned it into something that was like kind of queryable-ish. And I sent out a series of genuinely unhinged emails to agents being like, the world's on fire, hey, I'm Ella, what are you doing? Like honestly, just like you could hear the pandemic voice in those emails. But my agent, I guess maybe it was unique, I don't know.
Yeah,
So
I
she-
feel like it would stand out.
Yeah. So she responded and we had a really nice conversation. She signed me and then we worked on Rapunzella and we went on submission with it, and then Scholastic offered for 3 books. So they offered, so they offered, which again just unhinged because we went out with a partial and they offered for
On a partial.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
impressive.
Oh my God.
just, but again, I didn't at the time. I was just like, how weird, cool. And now I'm like, I have no clue how that is. So they offered for Rapunzella and then another book, another standalone, and then a picture book.
Oh, okay.
And so that was Rapunzella, The Map That Led to You, and Goldilocs. So that was 2021. Rapunzella came out in 2022. Map That Led to You came out in 2024. Goldilocs came out this year. And then after writing Map That Led to You, I kind of knew I wanted to write something adult. So yeah. So that was the sort of, that's how it kind of started.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
And what was your transition like from YA to adult? Like, did you find, A, was the, like, obviously the writing process would have been different, but B, what was it like on the editing, publishing, marketing side?
It's been really, really different. Trying to be careful about what I So initially, when I started writing Andromeda, I knew it was going to be an adult book. Not even necessarily because I was like, no, I want to write something adult, but just because I knew this story had to be an adult story.
Yeah.
And I found that it's all kind of about positioning, and I think that I really loved my team at Scholastic. I think they did the best job that they could with the resources allocated.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's unsurprising to say that like Andromeda's being published by Transworld, that's an imprint of Penguin. There's just kind of more resources available there. And I think that, and we can like talk about this a little bit, but when you're a Black writer, how your book gets positioned for the market has to be really like intentional and specific. And I think maybe Andromeda is an easier pitch because it's like the familiarity of a Greek myth reimagining, but a character that's been whitewashed, and so that's the angle. Whereas like I think Rapunzel and Goldilocs were a bit more experimental. They were partly verse. A lot of them are in second person. I was like really like being edgy. I was like, well, yeah, my edgy debuts. I'm going to write in second person, write poetry. So like I think they were a harder pitch, and it's difficult to kind of position them as accessible because I think a lot of people hear verse novel and think they think back to like studying poetry at school, where they read poetry that was by like old and white men that bored them, and then they think, well, verse isn't for me. So trying to get over that is a bit harder. So I think that it's been so far a month out from pub. I feel like it's been slightly easier to get this book into like the hands and minds of potential readers, but we'll have to see. we will see how it goes.
After a good start.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you've done a few retellings or reimaginings.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've got Rapunzel, and then we've got Goldilocks, which is straightforward. And now Andromeda. What inspires you to kind of take stories that exist and tell them through like a new lens, usually Black, usually queer?
Yeah, I think I just really enjoy like subverting people's expectations of things, and I think that like using stuff that is familiar and then turning on its head is a really interesting way to ask new questions about things that maybe we take for granted. So with Rapunzel, for example, the sort of thing that I wanted to like problematize at the heart of it was beauty standards and looking at the sort of like Disneyfication of fairy tales and the way that like we're sort of I certainly internalized a lot of ideas around like who is worthy of being saved, who is worthy of being loved, who is worthy of romance because of princess films. And so I wanted to like take a thing that felt familiar and go, but what if we changed it? What does that mean? What does that like ask us about our world? So yeah, I think that's sort of why I find it really interesting. And yeah, there's something about stories that have endured for a really long time that interests me anyway. I'm like, why this one? Why is this the one that we stick with? And so I think it's that.
I get that. Like, why do we keep making so many Cinderellas?
And it's the rags to riches. It's the idea that love can be this like life-altering thing, like all of those themes at the heart of it. So I it's fun to play with that stuff, I think.
What's the research process and the writing process like for that? Because obviously you're taking an existing story and then you're making it so uniquely your own, and you do make it so uniquely your own. How does that work? How do you dissect it? How do you decide what you're keeping and what you're subverting?
It really depends on, I mean, like the process for Rapunzel, for example, was like totally different to this because I always take liberties. I always take artistic liberties because that's kind of the point, right? I think with Rapunzel, a lot of the kind of mythology that I was inspired by is like Caribbean mythology, Jamaican mythology. My family from Jamaica, so really the research was more rooted in that and like reading lots of different versions of like the stories that I'd grown up with and seeing what things kind of remained consistent throughout, what things changed and why. And then again reading lots of versions of Rapunzel because there were so many versions of Rapunzel and some are kind of brutal, and not all of them have happy endings. And the original like Grimm brother fairy tales are dark.
That is dark.
They're really dark. Like in the original, Rapunzel, she like the prince that goes to rescue her fails in his rescue. He falls from the tower into like thorns. He gets blinded.
Dark.
It's so dark. So and then in some versions she cries and it like heals his blindness. But again, in the original it doesn't. He's just blind.
Yeah.
But I don't know, there's something kind of like weirdly beautiful. Like he's blind, she's cut all her hair off, they're like poor. They have no hair. You know what I mean? So
True love at the end.
True love at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Would I prefer to stay in the tower with my like hot mummy witch? Yeah. I would indeed.
Yeah.
I would indeed.
Yeah.
But different strokes, different folks. Whereas with Andromeda, there was a lot more research because people have a lot of opinions about Greek mythology.
They sure do.
So I wanted to make sure that I was being really intentional with my choices.
Yeah.
On that, we may as well get into that one.
Let's do it. Let's get into it.
You did a now very viral video.
Yeah.
Like I think it was quite soon after your deal was announced.
Yeah, it was.
Where you basically, rightfully so, challenged the idea that Andromeda has always been represented as white and whitewashed.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't be the case.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very fair video.
I do too.
Reasonable.
Many people did not.
They did not.
How did you handle the internet trolling and the way that just kind of spiraled out of control?
It's been a really interesting. I released that video last March, so it's been like a year of it being announced and seeing people's like response to it. It's been a really interesting learning, because basically I think I have developed the ability to be able to tell like good faith and bad faith criticism apart.
Yeah.
Because it's so fair enough if people maybe haven't thought about this before, not everyone cares that much about Greek mythology, or you know what I mean? Like this might just not be something that is very present in your life, and you stumble across it, you see this idea that this like Greek myth character doesn't look how you assumed, and you're like, wait a minute, I don't understand. And that's so fair enough. I'm like okay with people asking questions. That's fine. It has been really interesting the way that people feel very possessive over these characters, and I get it. I love them too. I'm a big Greek myth lover, obviously, but that possessiveness leads to this belief that like they can't be changed, they can't be reinterpreted. But why I find that so fundamentally like strange is that we and by we I mean me and kind of modern feminist Greek myth authors, we are not the first to retell these stories.
No.
There are all these stories exist in so many versions and so many forms, and I think part of the reason that they are so enduring is because of that constant reinvention and the sort of the conversation sparked by you know this classical author wrote this story in this way, and then this classical author wrote it in this way, and like it generates discourse. That's why it's interesting, that's why it's exciting. And then what I have seen happen quite a lot is, and it's not even just the fact that Andromeda is black, but just any kind of change or amendment to the original story, people are like, that's the wrong interpretation.
It's so weird though, because everyone's interpretation comes from stories in the first place.
Of course, and just because you've read a text and you've made an assumption about something doesn't mean I'm going to come to the same conclusion.
Exactly.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
That's how literature works.
It's meant to be subjective.
Exactly.
Also, you releasing a different version doesn't erase the original.
Yeah.
This
Like
is the
original,
other thing.
Go back to it.
This is the other thing. And if you love Andromeda's myth and you envision her differently, or you see her story differently, you go write that bit.
Yeah.
Like by all means, like I'm not going to stop you. The existence of this version doesn't preclude others. So
My question is always like, these people have not gone and read the Odyssey. 99% of these people have not been sitting there with the
That's
Iliad,
what's so funny as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're not like, when I studied this for years and years, I was imagining a white person. They just think of the word Greek and they go,
Yeah,
should be a white character.
Yeah.
And it's like, but why?
But
Like,
for sure.
but why?
Yeah, and I think the thing that I learned a lot about when I was researching this book is, you know, Greek, ancient, it was an empire, and therefore it was like incredibly global.
Yeah.
They traded with and interacted with and were married to people from all over the world.
Yeah.
It was so far reaching, and they did not have the same idea of like race as we do today. And so the idea that I just find it really fascinating the way that there's like a particular like subsection of like online angry right-wing people.
Yeah.
And they're really protective over like classical Greco-Roman shit. Can I swear?
Yeah.
Cool. They're really protective irrespective of a classical Greco-Roman shit, as if they think they are like the cultural heirs to ancient Greece.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I promise you, like the Greek authors that you think are your forebears would think you are fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Like they would think you're so stupid.
Yeah.
So
rightfully so.
I'm just amused by it. You know what I mean? At this point,
Claiming the people that would not claim
Would not claim that
slightly
for a moment at all.
Oh, I just watching that all take place. But
Yeah.
also, like, how are you just like mentally? That was a lot to deal with.
It was a lot to deal with. I think I've been through like a journey with it where
Yeah.
initially I was like, I mean, I knew that when I started a video with the question, why is she white? I was probably going to get a bit of rage.
Yeah.
It was more than I anticipated.
It was intense.
It was intense. But I think it's useful, like I have other friends that write Greek myth, and they've all had their fair share of shit. And it made me kind of go like, of course I'm going to get more shit because I'm black, but also this is something specific to this space where people get very angry at what they perceive to be like disrespect. And by disrespect, they just mean like a view that differs to theirs. And I think that shows like a lack of critical thinking and a lack of like media literacy and like narrow-mindedness. So I have learned that like, I'm not going to please everybody. The people that are going to get it are going to get it. And it's starting to become a bit liberating because I'm just like, look, if you're mad at this thing, then there's no pleasing you, so I may as well just be my like...
You can't argue with narrow-minded people.
Exactly, yeah.
That's so fair. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's...
I've got there now. It took me a year, but I've got there now.
That's fair. It's like a real like onslaught of stuff.
I think it's like also Greek myth. I had some conversation about this with another Greek myth author. It really it creates this real like pseudo-intellectualism online. It's a lot of well actually. And again, I say like that's your interpretation. There is no one interpretation. Scholars have debated this for literally thousands of years. So you know, Sarah 365 on TikTok aren't going to be the person that has the definitive viewpoint on like what's the right way to tell this story. And again, that's why they're enduring, because people keep thinking of interpreting them differently, engaging with them differently, you know.
For better and for worse.
Exactly.
So I want to talk more about your writing process and style in general, because you write very lyrically. I mean, even though I know this, unlike your other books, this was not prose, but it does still read
Poetry.
Poetry.
Sorry.
Poetry.
This is prose.
This is prose.
But
it does still read very kind of lyrically. And I know you said you did English literature. Have you always been drawn more to poetry?
Yeah, I think like I kind of came to writing through poetry. Rapunzella was when I did my dissertation, and I did the kind of origin of the first kind of thing that became Rapunzella. It was like a 5,000 word spoken word poem. And I did a lot of like spoken word and poetry and stuff at uni. And I think that was sort of, I'd always written, but I never really shared it beyond, you know, having to in lessons and things at school. And poetry was like the first time I actually started sharing poetry, sharing my writing with anybody. And when I was at university, we had like a spoken word poetry competition, and my boyfriend at the time, who's now my fiance, entered and came second. And then the next year, I was like, I'm gonna win, and I did, because I was competitive. I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna win. So I did, and then I just found a real love for it. I sort of stuck at it. I years ago opened for Dean Atta, which is so funny because like. Now we like work together and stuff, and it's always funny being on panels where people will say like, I've been on panels with Dean when people have said like, how did you get your start in poetry? And I was like, well, I opened for Dean and he told me I was good, and so I did, and here I am. So it definitely was the thing that gave me my confidence, I would say, in writing.
And what kind of inspired you to do Rapunzella in second person? Because I find that so fascinating. I remember the first time, I think you made a video about it ages ago, and I was like, how does that work? Like,
I think I wanted the sort of primary motivation behind Rapunzella in the first place was, this trying to engage in this way with like very Eurocentric beauty standards and what that means to be growing up as like a young person that doesn't conform to those. And so I think what I was trying to do was force the reader to radically empathize with the protagonist, who is a young black girl. And I remember having a conversation with like a friend of mine who's like a white Jewish New Yorker who was reading Rapunzella, and he was like, it's disconcerting because I'm reading this book and this book is saying, you know, you comb your afro, and I'm thinking, no, I don't, but it's that like radical empathy that then is like literally forcing me to view the world through the eyes of a young black girl, and I think that's kind of what I wanted to achieve. And then I wanted the young black girls to read it to be like, that is me.
Yeah.
I am you. That is my experience. And to feel like aggressively seen, you know, because I so often didn't when I was reading books as a teenager.
Yeah. That is such a fun way to challenge representation.
Yeah, I feel like I've never even noticed how little representation there was in books until I started reading more books with black main characters.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
This is new.
I just repressed all of them.
Yeah. But what's been so fascinating to me is like the way that when you're a black writer and you write black protagonists, I don't know where it comes from, but there's this sort of ambient hum that your books are niche because of their blackness, and that they're going to be hard for people to relate to because of their blackness, which is so funny because I'm like, you people will read books about vampires and werewolves. And apparently a vampire is easier to relate to than a black person. So I find that bizarre, but also that necessarily assumes that whiteness is not only like the norm, but is also going to be the norm for us then when we're reading. Because no one ever said to me like, oh, Harry Potter might feel niche for you because you can't relate to Harry Potter.
Are they just assuming that people of colour aren't reading?
I think they're just assuming that whiteness is the norm and everyone is kind of accepting that. And I think that like what I find frustrating is like, I had no problem reading Harry Potter. I mean, I have problems with Harry Potter now.
Well,
But I had no problems reading Harry Potter or reading Hamlet or whatever because the protagonist didn't look like me, because reading is an act of empathy. And so I don't know why it doesn't work the other way. Like, how about everyone empathise with us as well? I don't see why that should be so difficult. So that's also been quite interesting, I think.
Andromeda is the first book you've had an audiobook for. And you got to go to the studio and record something.
I did.
Ooh, tell us more about that.
Oh, it was so cool. And like a real like dream come true for me, because I did theatre at uni. I had a bit of a short life doing acting before I realised that industry is not for me. I love audio. I think it's such a cool storytelling medium. So I kind of always thought like maybe one day I'd get to do that. And then when I was writing Andromeda, there's a perspective shift without giving too much away. And so I knew it would make sense to have two different narrators. So I thought maybe I kind of suggested to my editor, and she was like, that's such a cool idea, let's do it. So I have an amazing actor, Phoebe Campbell, who's in House of the Dragon, narrate the majority of it. They're the best. And then I do the prologue, and then I do the bit where the perspective shifts. So it was really cool.
That's so cool.
That was really cool. How long did it take?
Just a day.
Because I know I've heard like it's done like that.
It's done real quick. It was real quick. But I had such a fun time, and the producer and director of it was amazing, and he does like one of Stephen Fry's audiobooks. So actually it's funny we were talking about pronunciation earlier, because when he was checking pronunciations with me, I was like, Roy, I don't know. I Google it, different people say different things. Like, what does Stephen Fry say? Because I'll go with what Stephen Fry says. And Roy was like, okay. So I was like, whatever Stephen Fry says goes.
I love that. And so, what are some of your other favourite Greek myths? Oh my god! And like, are there any other you would think, or just retellings in general, you would think of adapting? Like, okay, if you had like a dream list.
So I'm trying to think, because there are things I'm working on. So I I don't want to give too much
Of course.
away.
Right.
So I love, in general, I like misunderstood women in general. So any Greek myth with like a very misunderstood woman is interesting to me, or particularly like there are just little things that I will be reading and I'll think, see, only a man would have written this character, you know?
Yeah. No, so real.
So, and that's where I start to be like, I wanna play with that. I wanna twist that. I wanna engage with that. So, any Greek myth with a misunderstood woman is interesting to me. I'm not going to be specific because of future projects. And then retellings in general. I mean, I think less specific retellings are more like being inspired by.
Yeah.
So, for example, with like fairy tales, it's less like specific retellings and more like going back to like the old dark
origin,
brothers and like having fun in that space, like making the fairy tales a bit weird, a bit fucked up, a bit gory, and you know, I've been rereading Hansel and Gretel, and that's inspiring something I'm working on at the moment, and that's a really fun one
because even like the kids fairy tale version,
it's
kind of
dark.
really, it's really
there's so much interesting like this idea of this like woman that lives outside of like the bounds of society, and she eats children, and in doing so symbolizes like the worst thing a woman can be, which is like not maternal, right? A danger to children. That's the worst thing a woman can be. And so like, what does that tell us? And like, even just the idea of like these children falling into danger because they start eating her house, and like the house that she built, they start tearing apart her domestic space. Why did they do that? No one invited them in there. Do you know what I mean? But then but it's because they were hungry, because they lived in poverty. What does that say about like class politics? I don't know. Hansel and Gretel is really ripe for unpicking, I think.
That's so interesting.
So I've been thinking about Hansel and Gretel. And that's all I'm going to say.
So did we ever consider if the children were bad vibes?
Did we ever consider that the children were spoiled brats?
Yeah, we just don't know. We just don't know.
Depends who's telling it.
I have a question. How did you like get into Greek mythology? Like, what was your earliest memory of a story, that kind of thing?
So it's funny. Someone asked me this recently, and I think actually what it was, and it's funny that this has only just sort of occurred to me. When I was at school, we did a school play. It was year 3, so I would have been like 7. And it was a retelling of Theseus and the Minotaur. And I played Theseus. And in this retelling, Theseus is like on his way to kill the Minotaur, but Theseus is like kind of a pussy. And he falls in with this family of sisters called the Peplos sisters, and it's the Peplos sisters that kill the Minotaur. But they let Theseus take the credit because they can't be asked for the fame. And it has just occurred to me recently that like that idea of like a classic story retold from a feminist perspective, and like the man is kind of a whim, and it's the girls that save the day, probably was quite formative for me.
That's so cool.
You know? And I have no idea, like I don't know if my teachers wrote it or if it was a resource they found somewhere, but it was great. And so that, I think it was that stayed with me. And then I just became obsessed with Greek mythology after that. I had all the big books of the gods and the monsters and things, and I read about them a lot, so
I love that.
Yeah. But mythology in general, like I love folklore.
Yeah.
In general, I love like Egyptian mythology and folklore, and like Caribbean folklore, West African folklore. Like I just, give me a god and a monster and I'm in.
It's a great time.
Yeah, it's a great time.
Do you think you have anything story-wise, myth-wise that is like your Roman Empire?
I mean, to be honest, for a long time, Andromeda was my Roman Empire, and then again, like I don't want to say too much because of things that I'm working on. But in general, the way that like the anti-mother shows up in myths, so women that eat children, succubuses, women that kill babies, like anything that highlights a fear of womanhood, or a fear of like a woman being liberated and then kind of like projects it onto this idea of women being dangerous to children.
Mm.
And that pops up a lot across quite a lot of different mythologies.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing that I obsess about at the moment. Yeah.
I can see why.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are 4 books in. Killing
Yeah.
it on socials. Typically just a very cool person. Is there anyone that you feel you have smugly spited with your success? I know you're thinking of someone.
I'm thinking of so many people.
You don't have to obviously like call them out by
Full
name.
government name.
But like you can
age.
give us some context.
I'm just like, who do I pick?
So give us the top 3.
Okay, so like, wow, because it's like I
don't want
there
you
are
to,
so
like,
many
get in
degrees.
trouble.
No, it's not that. It's like there are so many degrees of messy that I could be.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to pick which one.
I think you should add a podium, just like
Yeah.
staircase.
Yeah, like, where am I? Where am I positioned? Okay, so okay. I have an ex
Mhm.
that was like my only real, like, I've been with my fiance for literally like 10 years.
Mm.
But I have one ex from before, from my like late teens, who was my like one real heartbreak, my one real experience of someone being so toxic. And and it was just a whole mess. And I bumped into him not that long ago, and he basically brought up the fact that I was like doing really well, and he like regretted everything.
Wow.
And I was like,
Beautiful.
So satisfying.
Such be you. You fumbled the bag. So that I think about a lot, and every time something goes well, I'm like,
Yeah, there are so many people that are like watching you like kicking themselves,
For sure.
fuming.
For sure. And then just like, I had quite a good run of teachers, so I was quite lucky in that respect. So I don't necessarily feel like I spoke to any of them, but yeah, exes, and just like, honestly, like boys from my adolescence. Like I went to all girls private school in South London. I was a scholarship kid. Our local boys private school is like a problematic one. And there were just lots of boys from school that were like objectively horrible to me and to other girls that I was at school with.
Bad times.
Really bad times. Really, really bad times. And I also feel like I spite them as well. And I do have a habit of like naming people that die quite horribly. In my books.
Yeah, it's a good time. Yeah.
And then a friend of mine, we do a thing sometimes where if I need to kill off someone in a really brutal way, I'll take the name of a man that wronged her.
So
And then she'll take the name of a man that wronged me.
Because then you can't
Because
the
it's
trace
back.
That's so good.
So yeah, that's the.
That's really good.
So yeah, if you're watching this and you know who I'm talking about, no, you don't.
Right, we are going to play a game, but before we do, we're going to plug your socials and book at the end. Is there anything else you would like to plug? Anything else you got going on that you want people to know about?
What's going on? Oh, I have a podcast called Comfort Creatures on the Maximum Fun Network. It's a really good time. We basically just talk about our love of animals, both fictional and non-fictional. Lots of myth. We generally will do like, in an episode, we'll do like one weird animal that we've like never heard of. Then we'll do like an adjacent myth. Because we love our fantasy and our myths. And then we get like people's like crazy pet stories, which is always really a really fun time. So it's just like a good vibes place on the internet. If you if that's your cup of tea.
What's your favourite mythical animal?
I was going to ask the same thing.
Oh no, that's really hard.
What are like some that have stuck out to you while doing this podcast?
There are so many. I think. Oh god, like because there are some that are just like mythical creatures, like hippocampi and like unicorns, dragons.
Yeah.
Dragons are so great because basically every culture. This is weird. This is a weird thing. Basically, every culture, including cultures that would never have interacted before, like the modern day, have like some kind of mermaid mythology and some kind of dragon mythology.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that speaks to. Like, Sometimes.
I was about to say that's the
that
best
they were there.
argument
Yeah.
I've ever heard for like
For them being real,
Right?
right?
These
Yeah,
things,
exactly.
like-
Do you know what I mean? And I find that really fascinating. So
Yeah.
that's something that I'm obsessed with. And then, so like, the mythical creatures are great, but then also there's just like amazing, like, a lot of really cool indigenous folklore about like different animals and like really beautiful indigenous folklore about different animals. So, like, there's a really wide variety of beautiful indigenous folklore about like moose.
Aww.
That was really, really interesting. What else? And then just like things that are like that you wouldn't expect. Like, I'm a big fan of like the Anansi stories.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like
Classic.
fun stories about spiders, like creatures that I don't normally like in life, but can
Yeah.
but there are great stories about
Yeah.
them. So yeah, big fan of a mythical creature.
Nice.
Okay, you ready for a game?
Yeah, I'm so excited.
So we've been playing this with every author that comes onto the podcast.
Okay, cool.
It's a round of quick fire hypothetical questions where we test how well you know your main character.
Oh god, okay.
Yes.
Let's do it.
So you've got to put yourself in Andromeda's shoes.
Okay.
We're gonna ask. They're completely hypothetical.
Fun.
They might feature in your books. I actually don't think these will. You are the first fantasy author we've done this
Okay,
with.
cool, cool,
And they're
cool.
very contemporary questions.
Amazing,
So you
love
really
it.
are being
And bring me here into the
hypothetical.
modern day.
Yes.
Amazing.
You've got 90 seconds. We have not compiled it yet, but we are going to release a scoreboard of every author that has played this and how many they got on.
Okay.
And then 90 seconds.
Oh my
so
god,
lock
I'm
in.
so ready.
Yes.
I'm so competitive.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. What's her go-to coffee order?
Andromeda's is a coconut latte.
Would she prefer TV, books, podcasts, or film?
She would prefer, oh my god, TV, film, books, podcast. No, none.
Okay,
Music.
fair.
Yeah.
What would her go-to takeaway be?
Something sweet, like she's like breakfast for dinner, like pancakes.
Cute. What would her special interest be in a pub quiz?
Oh, R&B music from the late 90s.
Okay.
What would her go-to excuse be to get out of something?
I got my period. You'll get it if you read it.
Sweet or savoury?
Sweet.
I've already answered. Early riser or night owl?
Early riser.
Window seat or aisle seat?
Window seat.
Spotify playlists or albums all the way through?
Ooh. Spotify playlists.
Shower in the morning or at night?
Neither, bath at night.
Oh.
Would she actually answer a phone call?
No.
Would she rather cook or order in?
How she'd have someone cook for her.
Breakfast person or skip it entirely?
Breakfast. That's it.
Go-to drunk snack?
Again, like something breakfasty, like hash browns.
Would she share food or absolutely not?
Share food.
Fancy restaurant or hole in the wall?
Fancy restaurant. But like, fancy restaurant that pretends to be a hole in the wall. Like, has a Michelin star,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
is like, looks like a hole in the wall.
Yeah.
Would she be late or stressfully early?
No, bang on time. Bang on time.
Nice, okay.
Love this.
You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
Is that good?
That's really good.
That's up there.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
I can't remember
Thank
what the
you.
most is, but that is up there.
You've had Charlotte on here, haven't you? Paradise.
Yeah.
What did she get?
I think she got like 13, 14.
Yeah.
I do think you beat Charlotte.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
She's like one of my best mates.
Yeah.
We're together,
Oh.
so I'm like.
Success story.
Yeah. I was gonna tell her, I'll be like, I beat
Everyone had
you,
that one person they
Charlotte.
want to be out.
No, we have had many authors come on here
Yeah.
knowing I'm
Would this person
Yeah. She's,
and
yeah.
challenging. We had Annabelle like I think Rafara hadn't even done it yet, and she was like calling her out. I will.
I want to be her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna text her and be like, I beat you, Charlotte.
Okay, that is all we have time for today.
Oh, that was so much fun. Thank you so much for having me.
so much for joining us.
It's a great time.
Okay, so Andromeda is out today.
Woo!
So order online, request it at your local bookshop or library, and lock into this beautiful poetic retelling. Ella, where can people find you?
I'm at McLeod Mouth on Instagram and TikTok, so
Aw.
MCLEOD_mouth. Like loudmouth, but McLeod Mouth, because I am a loudmouth.
Love. And we are Baby Got Books Pod on TikTok and Instagram. If you liked this episode, don't forget to tell a friend, tell an enemy, or leave us a rating on your favorite podcast platform. We will be back next Thursday discussing something.
Ooh.
Tell a friend, tell an enemy.
Yeah.
Tell my enemies I've loads of
There we go. Tell your biggest hater. There we go. Okay, so usually we kind of sing out. Can't tell you why we started doing this. So I'm gonna start a bye slowly. We're gonna harmonize the bye. Don't think about it too hard. We don't.
Oh God, okay.
No one picks a note. You
Okay,
just
cool.
go for it.
Okay,
Feel it
fine.
in your heart.
Okay, I will.
You'll go last. Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Amazing.
Yes.